find this kind of ridiculous at times. I watch the news. They're constantly going into this fentanyl crisis and epidemic in the country, and how this drug is ripping apart people and tearing down the country. But when you do research, a lot of the opioid addictions, crystal meth, a lot of these addictions are affecting mainly the white communities, are affecting mainly the white families and white teenagers. And the media will have a soft spot in their hearts or in their feelings or in their spirit when it comes to addiction and suicide amongst so-called white people. They'll make it like it's a problem in all communities and all races, but it's mainly affecting and hitting the white communities, especially in California. And then with the crisis at the border, because it is a crisis that this government is not really addressing the proper way, but with the crossing of what they call illegals into the country, drugs and terrorists are coming through as well. And this is going to be a shocker down the line. We're going to see, I personally believe, terrorist attacks in this country. The powers that be purposely want this empire, this mighty, wicked empire, to fall. But with the pressure of inflation, with the pressure of sickness and racial tension and divide between so-called white people, left against right, liberal against conservative, red against blue, it's here. It's here. But it's just funny how the news will make this into a people problem when it's mainly affecting so-called white people. And when crack, which was induced into the black community by the enemy, which still plagues and hurts us current, all the way from the 80s to current, that doesn't get the same love and attention, meaning at the same capacity as white children strung out on opioids, crystal meth, and whatever drug that's plaguing the white community. Fentanyl. I mean, it's just something I noticed, man. I've noticed this. How racially iniquity is played out in the opioid crisis. Says the opioid epidemic in the United States has largely centered on white Americans, who account for roughly 80% of the opioid overdose victims. See that? 80%. 80%. But if you watch the news, you would think that this is equally proportioned the problem across the board, affecting all races, peoples in this country. How racial inequities or inequity is playing out in the opioid crisis. 80%. So not only do they have a problem with white mothers not having enough children or producing enough children to build up their nation within a created nation, Babylon, aka the United States, but they have a drug problem that's tearing down their youth. Their youth no longer wants to join the military. Their youth not prospering through education because that's shot now. That's shot now. And then the family structure, just like the black family structure, is on its way down. Not as fast as the so-called black family structure, but the family unit is now a problem, not just among whites and Hispanics, but among so-called whites. This is an issue. As we go forward into the future, as we get closer and closer to the fall of America, you see a decline in all aspects of family structure, finances, moral values, being a good patriot. It's all falling apart. But the national attention on white victims has pushed minorities to the sidelines, even as the number of opioid-related deaths among whites is on the rise. This is from 2019. It's higher now. Non-whites make up 20% of the deaths involving prescription and non-prescription opioids in the United States. According to recent government figures, the numbers is growing. See that? Again, it says non-whites make up 20% of deaths involving prescription and non-prescription opioids in the U.S. According to recent government figures, the number is growing. Some experts believe the numbers would be even higher if minorities had the same access to health care as whites, highlighting the complex underlying racial disparities in the U.S. health care system. Isn't that something? So something that could be used as a benefit to help family to sustain a healthy life among all communities is stricken from one group, so-called blacks, to a certain degree, to a large degree. And whereas whites have the ability to use healthcare and benefit from healthcare, have abused the very same healthcare that blacks need. Have abused it so much that it's now a problem. You see how the Most High works? You see how the Most High, his judgment cannot be escaped? The very simple things of life can be an enemy to anybody, Most High's will. In other words, you could have a simple lifestyle and think you're safe, and there's things within that simple lifestyle the Most High can turn upside down and become a weapon or a tool of judgment and punishment from the Heavenly Father. And the same enemy laced the black community in the 80s with drugs, mainly crack, and this same crack, the same drug, destroyed millions of families and millions of children at the same time, which was a judgment from the Most High. Since historically in recent decades, low income and minorities earners have had less access to medical care, an issue now playing out in the opioid crisis. Look at that. Non-Hispanic blacks and Hispanics have had less access to non-Hispanic whites to the healthcare system through the 90s and into the early 21st century. Historically, in recent decades, low income and minority earners have had less access to medical care, an issue now playing out in the opioid crisis. Just read that. You tell me the Most High don't know what he's doing. You tell me the Most High don't know what he is doing. All the bull crap is coming to an end. That's what the Most High is showing me. If you read between the lines of what's happening and what people are going through, you see it's the Most High. What can be learned from differing rates of suicide among groups? It's another one. The same way you have missing white women, they get national attention, whereas missing black women don't get the same attention. Same thing with the drug crisis. One is looked at with sympathy and care. One deserves national attention, while the other one gets a complete different attention and focus. Same thing here. Suicide. Suicide is a very serious thing. It's a very sad thing. But you would think that suicide is an issue among all nationalities, but on the same level or the same rate as suicide is concerned. In other words, you would just look at suicide as one blanket crisis or one blanket problem. But here again, more whites commit suicides than so-called black people. White Americans have a higher rate than most other racial and ethnic groups. Look at that again. So we dealt with the drug issue, opioids and meth and so on and so forth. Now, suicide says U.S. suicide rates vary widely across racial and ethnic groups in ways that can upend expectations. The explanation may suggest avenues for prevention. Suicides in America has been rising for two decades, with rates for white Americans consistently well above those for Asian Americans, Black Americans, and Hispanics. Look at that. Again, suicide in America has been rising for 2 decades, with rates for white Americans constantly well above those for Asian Americans, Black Americans, and Hispanics. In data released in 2017, the rate for white Americans was around 19 per 100,000, and it was about 7.1 for both Hispanics and Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and 6.6 for Black Americans, according to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Emotional and social stress is associated with suicide. From this, a puzzle emerges. Because of pervasive racism, Black Americans experience substantial stress. Again, it says because of pervasive racism, Black Americans experience substantial stress, fewer opportunities for advancement, and more threats to well-being. These negative experiences can degrade mental and physical health, as well as limit education, employment, and income, all of which can increase suicide risk. Unemployment, which is higher for Black Americans than white Americans, is itself a source of stress, which I agree. I agree on everything that's being read here. It says, yet the black suicide rate is about 1/3 of whites. With all that so-called Negroes and Hispanics go through, it says, yet black suicide rate is about 1/3 of whites. And one people shall be stronger than other. And one people shall be stronger than other. Rings a bell. The first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And one people out of the two, one red, one brown, shall be stronger than other. Makes sense to me. Social stressors, low socioeconomic status, and racism among them are more prevalent and severe for the black population than the white one, said Joshua Breslau, a senior behavioral and social scientist at RAND. But suicide and some risk factors for it, like mental health conditions, are less prevalent in black population. This is puzzling. It's not puzzling. The so-called black man, as well as the Hispanics, are the children of the Most High. Esau, so-called white people, they come out of us, but they're a carbon copy on the left-hand side of so-called Negroes and Hispanics. This is why they do the things they do. The Most High designed and built them differently from so-called blacks and Hispanics. I'm not saying that you don't have weakness and frailty of spirit among so-called blacks and Hispanics. You have that. But overall, the Most High created the so-called Negro and Hispanic to be stronger in spirit than our oppressors, and built to take punishment on a higher level than our oppressors. But suicide and some risk factors for it, like mental health conditions, are less prevalent in the black population. This is puzzling. This is puzzling to them. It says his work and that of others shows that the deaths of black Americans are far more likely to be coded as undetermined when those of white Americans in part of the black American, sorry, I'm gonna read that again, as undetermined than those of white Americans. In part, black Americans dying by suicide are less likely than whites to leave a note and to have a record of mental disorders. Lower rates of mental health disorders reflect, at least in part, poorer access to health care and treatment that stems from racism. In other words, blacks and Hispanics, I'm keep throwing Hispanics in there, they don't get the same treatment as far as for mental disorders or any sickness. I'm gonna say healthcare is an issue in poorer communities. Healthcare is an issue among so-called blacks and Hispanics. Meanwhile, so-called white people have access to healthcare, to counseling, to see a psychologist on a much higher rate than so-called black people. Yet the numbers are higher as far as suicide among so-called white people. How do you explain this? Man, that Bible, it explains everything. It explains why we're in the condition that we're in, why we ended up in the condition that we're in, and what will be our condition in the future. Bible tells you that. Just the problem seems to be that a lot of people don't want to take the time to read the Bible. But these are all judgments from the Most High, and I spoke on this in times past. The Most High is a brilliant life chess player. The common things that men are comfortable with, the common and basic things that women and families and people of the earth are comfortable with, the Most High will totally turn that around, and it will be a weapon from the Most High to chastise you. That's how the Lord operates. The Lord said in Ezekiel 35, verse 1, it says, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man. Let me get that up for you so you can see it first. Get that up. Yeah. There you go, right there. Okay. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir. Who's Mount Seir? Edom, the Edomites. Like I say over and over, everybody has a biblical nationality. Every nation has a biblical nationality that fits into Scripture. The Edomites are the so-called white people. And this is the judgment from the Lord, which people refrain to read or choose to ignore and live in this current lying system, or refuse to face reality that the Bible and the prophecies and what's written in the Bible is reality. The judgments that are written in the Bible are reality. That's reality. But people would choose to escape reality. I believe it's because they don't want to be accountable or subjected to following the word of the Most High. They're comfortable in doing wickedness or living a worldly lifestyle. But it says, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Seir and prophesy against it. And that's exactly what we do at times. We prophesy against Esau, the so-called white man, against his empire, against kingdoms and countries. There's nothing wrong with that. People will tell you that that's hate. That's not hate. As long as you're in the Bible and you're backing up what you say with Scripture, then you're justified in prophesying against a particular group or nationality of people who are the enemies of the children of Israel. America has proven herself enemies against the world and thieves and robbers. So we prophesy against America. We prophesy against so-called Israel, which is not Israel. Those are Edomites placed in our land in Israel. But the Most High said, prophesy against it. We prophesy against the Arabs. We prophesy against the Chinese and the Japanese. But the main key player that the Most High is judging is Esau. Then the Most High tells you in the third verse, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord. This is what we prophesying when we're on the streets, on the highways and byways, doing sit-down videos, informing the public of the word of the Most High. Not just our people, but all people, the truth. You can teach Esau, but you got to teach him the truth. And say unto it, thus saith the Lord, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. See? I am against thee. See? The Most High is against Mount Seir. Mount Seir represents the Edomites. And I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. So the same way we are desolate and broken down and destroyed, Most High said he's going to do the same thing to our main foe, our main enemy, Esau. That's what the Most High says. And I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. There you go. Same thing like Egypt. Most High destroyed Egypt and those Egyptians, they knew who the Lord was after that whipping they got. They knew who the Lord was. Then the Lord said, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword. See? By the force of the sword. They used the sword against us. Now, guess what? The same sword is going to be used against them by their enemies. You see what's happening in China, what's building up in China with the Russians, with the Arab nations. See that? With Elam, so-called East Indians. In the book of Obadiah, the Most High said he has put the spirit on the enemy to step to Esau, to approach Esau to its borders, meaning judgment from the Most High. Wherever this man controls or whatever he dominates, the enemy is right at his border. Again, the Lord said, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. See that? And has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time of their iniquity, in the time that their iniquity had to end. 36th verse says, therefore, as I live, saith the Most High, I will prepare thee unto blood. See that? I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, meaning wherever this man goes, that judgment is going to follow him. Whatever he does, that judgment is going to follow him. This is why I say to you, brothers, the curse is on us. Wherever we go, you can run to Africa, you can run to the Caribbean. You might have a little break or a little comfort, but you will not escape these curses. The same way the devil, he will not escape these curses. Wherever he goes, blood shall pursue him. The Most High said, since thou hast not hated blood, because we spoke about those drugs and the problem with the drugs, but those drugs were placed in our communities for a purpose. Vaccinations and booster shots are placed in our communities for a reason. The thing that this man does is done for a reason. And this has been happening for centuries. This man is a master of deception, a master of being a mad scientist and manipulating DNA and trying to be God on this earth. In trying to be God on this earth and opposing and trying to get around prophecy and the true and living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is why the Lord said, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. So when something pursues you, it's chasing you. It's right on your heels. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. See that? And I will make Mount Seir most desolate and cut him that passes out and him that returneth. So wherever this man goes, death is going to follow him. And I will fill his mountains with slain men, and his hills and his valleys and all his rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. See that? And I will fill his mountains with slain men in thy hills, sorry, I read that wrong, and in thy valleys and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. So, like I was saying, man, the Most High, excellent chess player. So, I rejoice that the Most High is in my life, and I pray that I'm around to see that particular judgment. I pray I'm around to see that particular judgment. And at the same time, I know the Most High will be merciful towards us that love him and keep his commandments. This is why you got so-called white people like Vocab Malone and various white people who will try to destroy this movement, and they won't be able to destroy this movement. But you have people like this. They know what we're saying is true, and it hurts them. It hurts their feelings. It hurts them to the core, man. So they'll try anything to destroy the word of the Most High. They'll do anything. But it's not going to stop, and the judgments are set. They'll try to work your heartstrings, meaning find some compassion and mercy and sympathy in a lot of you weak, pathetic brothers and sisters who only get in the way. But they'll try to find a way to use you to get in our way. Not going to happen. The Most High tells you in Isaiah 40:1, comfort ye, my people, saith the Most High. And that's exactly what we do. We give you this word, we give you the truth, and we give you purpose through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That's the Most High in Christ. We give you purpose. We show you there is a future. It's not on your 9-to-5s. It's not in your pensions. It's not in your children. Even though you need those things, I'm not knocking those things. But the main focal point or the prize is the kingdom of heaven. And you stack treasures in heaven rather than in earth. You do what you got to do on earth. But when you're teaching and you're doing the right thing and you're living in the gospel, you're living in the word of the Most High, you're keeping the commandments, you're stacking treasures in a place in the kingdom of the Most High. And he says, comfort ye, my people, saith the Most High. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem and cry unto her, so-called Negroes and Hispanics. Speak comfortably to you so-called Negroes and Hispanics. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. From who? The Most High. Meaning the mercy is coming. The mercy is coming. For she has received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. See that? She received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. Double. So we tell the brothers and sisters there is hope. There's hope. There's hope in the Most High. There's hope in serving the Most High, and you have a beautiful future. A beautiful future ahead of you. It's just that so-called white man, his time is up, man. His time is up. His time is up, and he knows it. This is why the drugs were put in your communities in the first place. This is why the crack was put in your communities in the first place. But now all those drugs have returned to his own people, to the point where it's a problem. It's a serious, serious problem. Serious problem. And it just shows how beautiful the Most High is. How beautiful the Most High is, and what we have coming to us. If you hold on. If you hold on. But it just shows you you can't give up, man. You can't give up. You have to fight and continue to fight, and you can't give up. Watch the news and learn from it. You know, we put ourselves in this condition. You know, we put ourselves in this condition, and the Most High told you that the warfare that He put on us, He's going to be merciful to us. He tells you that. Speak comfortably unto Jerusalem and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished. See? Her warfare is accomplished. That's what the Most High is showing you right there. You understand? Look at this. See, this has been the book of Baruch in the Apocrypha. It says, my children suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon you from the Lord. For thy enemy has persecuted thee, just like we read in Ezekiel 35. It says, for thy enemy has persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck. See that? My delicate ones have gone rough ways and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemy. Be of good comfort. Here you go again. See, remember what we just read in Isaiah? Look right here. It says, be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto the Lord, for ye shall be remembered of him that brought these things upon you. We just read that. For as it was in your mind to go astray from the Most High, so being returned, seek him 10 times more. For he that has brought these plagues upon you, see that? For he that has brought these plagues upon you shall bring everlasting joy and salvation. So even though suicide rates are high among so-called white people, even though drug addiction based on opioids and meth and fentanyl, even though they're highest amongst whites, some of us still got caught up into that hell, that addiction that makes you a slave to the devil. Man, drug use and getting caught up into drugs, that's a whole different level of serving the devil, man. You've hit rock bottom pretty much once you get caught up on drugs and you're in the streets. It's the Most High. For he has brought these plagues upon you, for he has brought these plagues upon you and brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy with your salvation, right? Take good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. See that? Then it says, miserable are they that afflict thee. Look at that. And rejoice at thy fall. See that? Miserable are they that afflict thee, and rejoice at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children serve. See? So we serve cities all over the world. We serve the devil, the oppressor, in cities all over the world. I'm not going to say who it is. You know who it is. Miserable is he that received thy son. See that? So who received our sons and our daughters in slavery? Who put shackles and chains and whipped and sold our daughters and sons like cattle or a pig or a goat? Who did that to us? Well, whoever did it to us, the Lord said, miserable is she that received thy sons. 33rd verse says, for as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad at thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. So shall she be grieved for her own desolation. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned to mourning. See that? To mourning. That's exactly what's going on at a slow capacity. Hey, but that's just something I'm thinking about, man. Something on my mind. You brothers and sisters, you have a blessed day. Watch as well as pray, and know that there's hope. No matter how bad things get, no matter how many money issue problems you have, no matter how your situation or your position is in captivity, know that there's hope in the Most High. Turn to the Most High. Study the Most High. Read the Most High. Meditate on the Most High. Pray to the Most High. And never, never give up. I'm out.